Hey, it's Mrs. J here. I am going to be going over for today how you can use portfolios in Schoology as an option for e-binders for AVID. I am the coordinator for AVID at my middle school campus and also an AVID Schoology user, and so I had needed to come up with an idea, a way that while we are doing our remote virtual digital learning during this pandemic, that we would be able to use e-binders, and the option that I chose to go with was portfolios on Schoology. So in this video, I am going to go over just a couple of things. Number one, reasons why you might want to choose Schoology Portfolios as your e-binder solution. Thing number two, how to actually use Schoology Portfolios. This is an enterprise only feature, and so if you are not using the enterprise version of Schoology, you will not have access to portfolios. And then third, how to train the students on portfolios, and I will actually take you through the training that I put together for our students to learn how to use portfolios. So, a couple of reasons why I ultimately decided to choose Schoology Portfolios for our e-binder option. So in order to understand that, here's a few things you need to know about our campus in particular. We've been doing binders school-wide on our campus for a few years now. Typically, every student, when they attend our Title I school, will get a free binder and agenda at the beginning of the school year or whenever they enroll in our school. We've also implemented school-wide binder checks throughout the years. And so a lot of what we are doing is normal, and our campus and our students are used to it. And so a lot of things are not going to change. For our campus, we're still going to have first period school-wide checks, and that just simply means that every student, whether they're in AVID elective or not, will be binder checked, and we do that through our first period class. It is also a minor grade school-wide, so every student is assessed in the same way, and you get a minor grade on your binder check, and we do these school-wide binder checks about once a month. Also, every year I provide our staff with a binder check rubric, so we're all using the same rubric to check student binders. I provide them with a binder check calendar so that they know the dates for the binder checks in advance and when they are due, need to be turned in. And then also we give our staff the autonomy to decide what goes in the binder for your content in your class. So as a content, the team may get together and decide for their section of the binder, the math section, they want to use ISNs. Science may get together and decide for their section of the binder that there are some certain grids and rubrics that they want students to have. So every content and every teacher has the autonomy to decide what they want to put in their section of the binder. Perfectly fine. So a lot of things that we're doing are going to be exactly the same as we typically do. The only things that are really changing are, number one, of course, binders are going to be 100% digital, and we're going to use it through Schoology Portfolios. And the second thing is that students will need to be e-binder trained. And so we're going to do that through our newly implemented homeroom class, where every student in their homeroom class will go through a self-paced lesson folder that uses completion rules on Schoology. If you're new to Schoology, as many of us might be during this shift to virtual learning, completion rules simply mean that as a student progresses through the activities and assignments, they cannot move on to the second assignment until they complete the rules that have been set for the first assignment. This is a training that I have put together and created, and I will take you through what that looks like towards the end. So the reason why we chose to go with Schoology Portfolios for our e-binders, particularly right now, number one, we do have Google. We are a Google district, but a lot of our kids do not know their passwords. They're coming to us from intermediate school to middle school, and a lot of times, sometime a few years ago or in intermediate or maybe even in elementary, they changed their passwords to whatever interested them at the time, and then by the time they get to us, because of inconsistent use and things of that nature, they don't actually know their passwords. And we have a lot of technology things happening right now with the distribution of devices and all of those things that are taking place, and so resetting 300 to 700 student passwords is not a reasonable possibility. We do also have Microsoft products, but most people just simply don't use it. A lot of people who do use products tend to rely on the Google suite of products versus Microsoft, and so trying to introduce students to an entirely new platform that they're not consistently exposed to and have experience with just didn't make a lot of sense. The learning curve for portfolios is much smaller than trying to use some of the other things that we've seen. It's just simple as this. We have a lot of kids that are going through a lot of things right now. The virtual learning shift, of course, can be stressful for some. It can be traumatic for others. It could be easygoing for some. And so what my purpose was simply wanted to make sure that I could give my kids the tools that they needed, and also not stress them out even more so than we already have going on. And so for me, I just saw that portfolios on Schoology had a much smaller learning curve than some of the other options and products that I've seen. Now, I will say, some of those other options, they look fantastic. They are shiny and colorful, and they have all of the different bells and whistles. But for me, I just wanted to prioritize function over fashion per se, and I wanted to do what I thought was best for my kids, and that was just making things as simple and as smooth and as easy as possible. Also, we have a mantra, start in Schoology, stay in Schoology. As much as possible, I try to encourage my staff and my peers to do as much as they can within the platform of Schoology. Schoology is such a robust and dynamic LMS. There's so many things that you can do right within Schoology without ever having to leave. And then also, when you use options outside of Schoology, there's so many ways that you can embed and add things within Schoology. As much as possible, I try to encourage us to start in Schoology and to stay in Schoology. So by using portfolios that are already provided in Schoology, we have the best chance of kids being able to follow through on the process because they're not having to learn an entirely new platform. So now I'm going to actually pause and show you really quickly how to actually use Schoology Portfolios. So if you will, follow me over to my classroom. So this is just my student account that I use to kind of make sure I can see things from the student perspective while I am creating in Schoology. And the way that you get to portfolios is by going and clicking in the top right hand corner on your student name. And you can do this from the student perspective or the staff perspective. The steps are going to be the same no matter what profile you use. So you're going to go to your profile, and on the left hand side under the profile picture there will be a tab called Portfolios. So go ahead and click on that tab, and now it is going to take you to your portfolio section. So you can see here that I have a blank untitled portfolio. When you get here, there will be nothing here. And so you will be able to add a portfolio. Very simple. Click on New Portfolio. And it gives you the options to make this portfolio specific. So number one, you want to give your portfolio a title. I'm just going to title this Science Binder 2020 through 21. All right. And then you can give it a description. Okay, and then you can also personalize the portfolio, make it your own by adding either a color, you can color code the system, or you can upload an image that you would like to put in here. So I'm just going to put a check mark, right, because I love science. Okay, so now my science binder is here, and that portfolio has been added. So I'm going to click back on where it says Student Portfolios, and then I will see there is my science binder. I can do the same process over and over again and create multiple portfolios, one for each content or each subject. Now here, what you can notice is your portfolio or your binder is here. Here where it says 0, that is because there's currently nothing in my actual portfolio. So I like this option because it tells me directly whether this is empty or whether it has actual materials or resources in it. This little button here is about publishing your portfolio. So students can make their portfolios visible to anybody who has access to their profile page. If I click on the button, my portfolio is now published, and any staff member, peer who is able to access my profile can also see what is in my portfolio. If I do not want it published, I can just simply unclick it, and you can toggle with that back and forth at any point in time. You can make it published or unpublished. Another option for sharing your portfolio is simply by clicking on the skinny snowman here, and you can share the portfolio. If you do that, it will generate a link down here, and people can simply copy and paste this link and share it with anybody who is asking for it. That could be a staff member, it could be a teacher, it could be a partner that you're working on a project with, and they would be able to see your portfolio. You can also reset this link at any given time to make it back public to you. So this is a good option because if you have stuff on a portfolio that you don't necessarily want public so that any person who has access to your profile can see it, but you would like to be able to share it with your teacher or with a partner for a group project, you have the option of sharing it via the link. Now, once you click in a portfolio, you can see what kind of items you can add to a portfolio. So here, you can take an assignment submission. So that is simply if you submit an assignment in a class, like say you did an essay for your ELAR class or you turn in a group project, you can click on assignment submission, and that will take you to the classes where you are enrolled in and give you the option of choosing that class and then choosing the submission from that class that you want to add to your portfolio. Not in any in this one, so I don't have that option. Other things that you can add are files. So let's say you want every student to have a copy of the bell schedule and the district calendar. You could give that file to them and say, make sure you put this in your portfolio. You can also add links and URLs to your portfolio, and then you have the same ability to create a blank page like you do in Schoology. So simply, you can make a page and you can add many different materials into a page, including text. You have the ability to format your page with all of the different functions and font options, and then you can also insert links, images, media. You can embed resources, and you can pull things from Google Drive or OneDrive if you have those things connected. The page is just as dynamic in Portfolios as it is here, and I'm just going to save that there, click back on my science binder, and then boom, now I have a new item in my portfolio. If I click back once, I can now see my science binder has one item in it. So using portfolios, as I said, is very simple. It's very easy to navigate. It's very easy to use, and it does give students and staff members a lot of options for what they want to choose to put in their portfolio. Next, I am going to show you the training that I take students through so that they can be familiar with Schoology Portfolios. So now I'm going to show you the plan that I put into place on how students will be trained on using portfolios. As I said previously, we now have a homeroom class, and so through the homeroom period, every student will be pushed out the training folder that I'm about to show you, and they will be responsible for going through this folder, and their homeroom teacher will be responsible for making sure that they complete it, but they will use a completion folder to do the training on familiarizing themselves with portfolios, walking through how to do a portfolio, and then submitting their final product to demonstrate that they have mastered the knowledge of using portfolios. So now I'm going to take you into my teacher class, into my sandbox where I have my student training. Alright, so welcome to my sandbox. Here is where in the AVID Ebinders training folder I have put together the materials that the students will go through in order to be trained on how to use Ebinders. So I start here with just the background for students to understand why organization matters. They need to understand why we use binders, be re-emphasized on the fact that even in the virtual learning environment, organization still matters. It's a very vital tool, even more so now. And you'd be surprised how many students lose virtual files and things of that nature. So just train them on why organization matters. The next step they will go through is coming in looking at just what are e-binders. And I just took this directly from the AVID webpage and just kind of explaining that e-binders are just electronic versions of the binders that they have become familiar with. So then I walk them through step by step on how to do e-binders, and I simply have taken each step, and their job is to follow through these directions. And so they'll have one tab open where they actually be creating their binder, and one tab open where they're following through the steps, and they will be going through the next process for putting together their binder. So I've just chosen to use GIFs here and taken them step by step like I just did with how to create your portfolio. Their task is to create a portfolio for each of their content classes and then to customize their portfolios by adding in their pictures or color coding it. And as you can see, I'm just showing them by using GIFs the steps that they will go through in order to customize their portfolio. I also go over what goes in the binder, and so I'm just kind of explaining to them that their teachers may provide them some options and some required materials that they need to have in each of their portfolios, and then also trying to encourage them to come up with some ideas of ways that they can use it on their own. So for example, in the AVID class, I may encourage our students to do a portfolio on 2 colleges that they're interested in attending as they grow older, and to compile different resources, interviews with alumni, photos, and inspirational type of items that are related to those colleges. The example that I give here is creating a portfolio on growth mindset and including pictures and links and quotes and videos and articles of things that inspire them to be motivated. So I'm just trying to get them to generate ideas about what they could put in their portfolio, and then this is a discussion board, and so they will comment with some of the ideas that they come up with. Lastly, I go over kind of how to prepare for binder checks. So just encouraging them to make sure that they're keeping up with their binders and their binder checks, even in the digital world, encouraging them to find a binder buddy, letting them know that they will be checked regularly. And then there will be a video here that I haven't made yet that will go over the options for how they can turn their portfolios on and off to make them viewable, and then how they can also share the link like I showed earlier. The last step is simply them submitting an actual screenshot of their completed portfolio. Once they have their portfolio, the teacher will check it. It should have a portfolio, bare minimum, 1 for each content, and it should be customized with either a picture or color coded to demonstrate some organization. And they will submit that screenshot to their homeroom teacher, and the homeroom teacher will check them off and then submit a list that says that every student has been trained on how to use portfolios. So that is the e-binder training. I took my staff through this training, and then this particular folder will be given out to students in their homeroom. At the moment, it does not have completion rules on it, but when it is ready to be pushed out, I will simply go to options, do student completion rules, and then make sure that they are put in sequential order, and then I will simply add the requirements for each of the items so that students have to do these things in the correct order as they go through the folder for the training. And it's as simple as that, so that they go through each one and that they know how to use their e-binder. This will be done by a certain date. The expectation is that by a specific date, all homeroom teachers will have pushed out this training to their homeroom classes, will have informed students of the need to complete it, and then we'll have followed up by checking and making sure that students have indeed done that. So that is how I have chosen to put together the combination of Schoology Portfolios as an option for our AVID binders, digital binders for this school year. I hope that that made sense and that this was useful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message or keep in touch. Here I have listed my social. Hey, it's Mrs. J on Twitter, and then my educational blog is Prayer and Pedagogy, and you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you need anything else, just let me know. Good luck this school year.